Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles and bishops of Great Millstone, to the Akim Akbat, throughout the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth to the gospel Lord Hamashak Yahweh Shai in these days and times, this brother Menashe, the DC camp short lesson for the hopeful elect. Now, this problem of Amalek among the nations around the world, especially in South America, is becoming a thorn in the flesh. All right, and this issue of animosity between the house of Israel and the house of Edom is real. You know, the Messiah has set it up that way that that enmity is not going nowhere, and it's been always been observed that Amalek has been the driving force behind these wildfires in South America, especially in Argentina and Chile. All right, and there's a huge population of Amalek over there in South Central and and North America. All right, if you go to South America, there's a huge population of Amalek down there. You know, they've basically hijacked the governments down there. All right, they've hijacked the governments. They've embedded themselves into the governments of Argentina. All right, almost every country in South America has been hijacked, infiltrated, infected with the presence of Amalek. And that's just part of prophecy. You know, the Most High has always said that He will allow our enemies to have rule over us. And this is a good example about Amalek, always want to be at the helm of superiority. He wants to be at the top of the children of Israel. He wants to be at the top of the so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American. He can't just be by himself, man. He's always looking for company that he can manipulate, oppress, and deceive, and murder. All right, so it's just part of the journey, and you know how it is, man. When the time for the enemy to be discovered is unraveled by the Lord, it's a strange response that you will see across the whole world, and the end of Esau is near. So all his plans has to be exposed. All right. So I get a quick precept. It's going to be from the book of Sirach. You know what? Let me just get it. The one from Job. Yes, easier. I get the one from Job. Just bear with me. All right. Yes, sometimes precepts just pop into your mind as the Lord deems fit. All right. Job chapter 5, verse 13. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. So you have protests in Argentina. They don't want these Israelis in their country, setting fires so they could claim those wildlife areas, Patagonia. And Patagonia is a beautiful place, man. That's wildlife. It's no joke. Because I've been to South America myself. It's a beautiful place. The culture is excellent. If you look at all the vegetation from Panama all the way down to Chile, Uruguay, Brazil, Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia. It's good. It's beautiful. You feel uplifted. When you see all the creatures, you see the beautiful plans of the Lord, and then you feel sad that the enemy is causing so much havoc. And it's only a matter of time that their plans fall apart. So these, Jake's tribes of Asher, they're upset that Amalek is disturbing their environment, causing trouble, hijacking people's peace of mind, destroying people's livelihoods because of their greed, because of their desire to have domination over the whole world, you know, and then they want to push anti Semitism doctrine as legislation. So, you know how it is. When you have all that stuff going on in the UK and Europe, all that legislation, they'll like to move it into South America and have their way to silence the people. All right. So you see, the government has been compromised. They want to have control over those resources. They want to have control over those lands because they know they're going to have to start World War III. So now they have to look for a place where they could hide themselves, get themselves away from the calamities of World War III. All right, because they know that they can't win the battle by themselves, so they have to stir up confusion. They have to disturb the peace in another land, so they could achieve their means. And end of the day, man, the Lord has to destroy the plans of Amalek. All right, you see them running away in droves to Cyprus, running to Spain, running to Europe because they don't want to be in the land of Israel. They don't want to be in the Holy Land, the land of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, and then you see them running all the way into Africa, running into South Africa. So you see, what they do. You know how they corner the so-called diamond market. The mines and all that stuff. You see what they do. So it's no surprise that they wouldn't start wildfires in South Africa too. Because when you do a search, you can see they have reports of wildfires around the world, man. Anytime you have reports of wildfires, man, always ask yourself what's really going on. Because this stuff has been happening for years, for decades, okay? And even with what you have in California, Hawaii, and all that stuff, and then you start hearing the names of Amalekites. You start hearing names like Zuckerberg in there and all that stuff. So it's not a matter of time that the Most High will stir up the spirits of the people to come against Amalek because the people are upset that Amalek has been trying to dominate their space, their indigenous land, man. So that's just part of the journey. That you have to be aware of, man. Job 5:13, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. So it's only a matter of time when the Lord will start destroying the confidence of Amalekites, man, because they pushing hard for this world wars, so they could achieve their so-called goals. All right. that they so desire. All right. So the book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10 says, "Never trust an enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Okay. So you have to be aware that the wickedness the wickedness of Amalekites, man, these so-called Jewish folks, man, it's just you know, it's like what you call amazing, or just say something that just makes you wonder, what's so horrible about living on Earth. That's a group of individuals, a group of people, a nation of people are not satisfied with their own inheritance. And then you begin to read the scriptures, and then you realize that it's a curse not to be satisfied. Greed is a curse, man. Covetousness, murder, theft, and all that stuff. Those are violations. Those are the laws that the Ten Commandments speaks about, man. The commandment warns you about stealing, all that stuff, man. And that's what Amalek has become. He's become unhinged, from the foundations of righteousness, which he was never hinged in the first place. So end of the day, man, they don't have that connection with righteousness. They're running away from justice. They're running around as vagabonds and fugitives from justice. And you could see the paranoia in their spirit. They cannot have a conversation based on righteousness, based on stability, based on positivity. They're always going to resort to claiming victimhood. When the culprit begins to claim victimhood, you know that something is broken somewhere, man. So it's a matter of time before the Lord, gets him out of the way. So Sirach 12 and 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and that and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. So that's what they do, man. Once they get caught, they want to change their tone and all that stuff. But end of the day, man, the Most High will have to force them into a corner, and then they have to lash out, and then the Most High will have to, bring them down. So it's only a matter of time that you begin to see, the response of the Lord. You see on the Israeli arson attacks, man. See the two Amalekites, Netanyahu and Milei, and I've seen the reports, posting that the two are related. They have the same last name. They say it's Milakovsky. One is the so-called uncle, one is the so-called nephew. Hey, but it doesn't change anything, man. The still Edomites, all right. And end of the day, the Messiah will have to intervene and deliver our people out of the hands of our enemies, all right. So you see, over 15,000 hectares of land of wildlife area has been burnt down, and this is not the beginning. It's been going on for a long time. See, Israeli terrorists allegedly behind large fires in Argentina. So it's something you can always look into, man. They've been planning this for a long time, man. If you go and look at reports about these Amalekites in South Africa going there in droves, trying to start have their own community and all that stuff, then you realize they're following the plan, and then you have all these so-called IDF soldiers among them too. So they be playing the game of oh, refugees are looking for stability, and then there be the same ones that are causing instability here in America by flooding the nation, flooding the borders with migrants, and now they turn around and use border patrol to make merchandise of the people. So that's what Amalek does, man. He causes the problem, and then he wants to use the problem to strengthen his consolidation of power. All right. So that's why you see the likes of Stephen Miller, the Amalekite, you know, talking big about ICE and all that stuff. About what he wants to do. Same person, excited about torture. You know, so it's parts of prophecy. You have to have the enemy. Talk all these great, powering and swelling words. To dissociate themselves from the caring of the people. So they want to be despots. They want to be dictators. They want to be sociopaths. But at the end of the day, man, the Mossad will not allow them to reach that level of total control over prophecy. It's not gonna be that way, man. They're subject to the words of the Lord. You know, so they cannot run away from the Most High's dominion. They want to uproot the dominion of the Lord, and the Lord is not going to allow that to happen. So that's the reason why we have to keep an eye out for their behavior, man. They've hijacked Congress. They've hijacked almost every government agency, almost every institution here in America, in every sector. So it's just what they do best. They'd like to subvert, power structures of the people. All right. So the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 4 and 5 says, Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. All right. So, there's a difference, between those that are Israelites and those that claim to be Israelites. Okay, so at the end of the day, the Spirit of the Lord will make that clear distinction, that clear separation. Just like the parable of the wheat and tares, hey, that's just what you have to endure and be patient, because the Lord will be the one to bring about that separation. All right, because Amalek has embedded themselves so deep into the so-called lives of our people in South America, whether it's in Colombia, Panama, Guatemala, Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, Ecuador. They've put themselves into those locations, into those regions where our people live, even in Haiti. All right, even in Haiti. So they always gonna be in those key locations, man, so they can assume their plan for dominance. So all what I'm saying is nothing new. Your so-called government agencies, they know exactly what's going on in South America. Especially the so-called intelligence agencies. They know what's happening. The government knows where there's a wildfire. They know they have all the video footage of how the fire, started and all that stuff. So it's only a matter of time that that information leaks out too. Okay. So Habakkuk 2 and 5, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So that's Amalek for you, man. He wants to have control over the people, by any cost. So he will create diversion. He will create instability just to have his way over the people. So that's what he's been doing when he causes all those catastrophe in the Middle East. Then he flushes those people. If he facilitates their migration into Europe. That's why you have all this cultural clash in France, in England, in Norway, in Sweden. When the spirit of Ishmael, the spirit of Ham, the spirit of Elam, you know, is in the region where you have Edom, you start having all types of cultural clashes, and that's what they've always been doing. They've been working on this for decades. Yeah. So it's only a matter of time. They've wanted to be at the helm of these migration issues, man. Always want to be the ones to dictate the the process by which governance should be planned over the earth. They want to be there, either as advisors or the main actors. All right. So, actually, this Proverbs chapter 23 and 10. It says, "Remove not the old landmarks, and enter not into the field of the fatherless." All right. So that's a warning from the Lord, to our forefathers, even unto us too, unto the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. There's a commandment that tells you that, remove not the ancient landmarks. All right. And then verse 10 says, "For their Redeemer is mighty, he shall plead their cause with thee." So it's only a matter of time when the Lord will begin to shake his hand against Amalek. We already seen it, man, with these protests, the uprisings in Argentina, and it's gonna spread. That's that animosity is gonna be brought up. It's gonna gain traction. It's gonna gain traction, and then the government is gonna have a hard time, quelling the people's response. So whatever Esau's gonna do down there in South America, just know that hey, the Lord will have a firm response because hey, you can't just touch the eye of the apple of the Most High's eye and think it's gonna be a walk in the park or something to laugh and giggle about. So the times of mourning, the times of Amalek getting beat down by the Lord, those times are coming. It's coming. So you just have to wait patiently. So now the book of Proverbs. Actually, you know what? Jeremiah chapter 50 and 7 says that you know what? Read verse 6. Jeremiah 50 and 6. "My people had been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray." So the leaders of our people have made our people bamboozled with all these doctrines of democracy and having hope, system that is not anchored to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord Amashaki Yahushai. You know, that religion of Catholicism is heavy in South America, and that's what has been used to deceive our people. All right, they have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All right, so you could tell that our people are in a deep sleep and deep slumber. But that slumber is is fading away, and that Esau is upset, so he has to rush. He has to rush his enterprise, and that's how the people discover that the enemy within is up to no good. All right, verse 7, Jeremiah 15:7. All that found them have devoured them and their adversaries, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord. All right. So that's how Amalek operates, man. It's always looking to take advantage of our people's ignorance, of our people's willful disregard for the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Shai. All right. The habitation of justice, even the Lord Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for our people to stand up and overcome Edom. Okay, you can see it's horrible. It's horrible. It's really, really horrible. They're upset. Now, the tribes are waking up. They're waking up to who the enemy is. They're waking up. They see that something is going on in their neighborhood, and they're catching up with Amalek. You have so many of them, so many Edomites over there in South America, man. So many of them. In all these government positions and all these corporate institutions. So, yeah, whether you're looking for Germans, French, Russians, they're down there, man. Even you have Ishmael down there, too. All these Lebanese, you know. Yeah, don't be surprised, man. You have terror cells down there in South America. Don't be surprised. All these Ishmaelites that always blend in, you know, among our people, they're there too, you know. Yeah, so, you have the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. You have Judah, Benjamin, Levi there in South America too. So, yeah, that's like another reflection of Babylon here. All right, and then you have Moab. You got Koreans down there. You got so-called Chinese down there too, and then Japanese too. You got a Japanese population in Peru. Yeah, so it's a matter of time, man, that the Mosai will have to separate our people from these heathen, man. All right. So, final precept will be from the book of Psalms, chapter 144, and verses 7 and 8. Yeah, so people are beginning to catch up with all the plans over there in Argentina. They say that the government, the president had to, had to dodge some agencies, about 14 or so government agencies. He had to, shut it down, different ministries. And then the ones that were responsible for maintaining the wildlife areas, he chopped it off, man, cut off funding. You know, they just do all these things to have power over our people. And they have the backing of the elites. because they want that land, they want to have power, they want the resources. And then the wildfires, is nearby where you have those water, the water flow, the rivers and all that stuff, the streams, so they could control. So that's what's going on. All those beautiful lands in California. You won't be surprised who has a hand in owning those properties, those locations. Yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy. So the book of Psalms, chapter 144, verses 7 and 8 says, Send an hand from above, rid me and deliver me out of great waters, from the hand of strange children. All right, so this is what we have to deal with, according to our forefathers, according to King David, Dawada, that, this epidemic of dealing with the heathen is becoming a problem, you know. And yeah, man, these Amalekites, man, they're just a thorn in our flesh, and they just don't want to. They don't want to move on, man. They're always looking to attach themselves to our identity. They're looking so hard, to see every way they can attach themselves to our struggles, to our ups and downs. They want to be there. I'm like, God damn, you know. And that's the misery of Amalek, man. Despite all the riches he has, he cannot stand on his own 2 feet. He always have to hold on to the teeth of Jacob, of Yasharala. All right. Now, verse 8, Psalms 144:8, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. So, the lie. You see someone lie so bad with no shame. That's an Amalekite for you, man. So I see if the name of Amalek means lie. To lie, con, continuously, man. Never ending crusade of lies, man. That's what they do. And then today is what January 17th. The situation with Patrice Lumumba, of the Congo. Amalek got the hand in his overthrow, his assassination and all that stuff. Why? Because he doesn't want Jake. He doesn't want Israel. He doesn't want Judah, Benjamin, Levi over there in Africa to have stability. They're always embedding themselves in our struggles, man. You always want to be part of the exploitation, for our resources. And hey, you know what it is, man. The Mosai set it up that way so that they can be exposed and they could be taken out of the way. So that's why you gotta trust in Lord Amashak Yahushai to bring the answer, to this question that we've been dealing with. A lot of nations have been dealing with. How are we gonna resolve this problem of imperial, imperial greed? Hey, Yahushua is the one to take care of that. So that's the point of this lesson, man. The Messiah has to get rid of Amalek. It's just a matter of time. Just as our forefather Moses, spoke before our forefathers in those days of old, that the Most High will come against Amalek in these last days, and you could see that the heat is turning up on them. The massacre and the genocide against so-called Palestinians, so-called Ishmaelites over there, has really put them at the crosshairs of the people. All right, so it's only a matter of time that the Most High would switch up on them. Tighten up the noose on their minds. So they're gonna have to suffocate on the Most High's indignation. All right. So that's the point of this lesson about Rataza. You've had your dose of bitterness of the scriptures. You just have to learn to meditate and, be observant of the plans of the enemy. Shalom.